Hello and welcome to Fit News. I have a very special guest joining me today, Rachel Lavin. Rachel has published a book recently, the Doughnut Diaries, and she is also a certified personal trainer and a certified health coach. She grew up in Northern California and has lived in many places. She's lived in Hawaii. She's lived in Vancouver, Washington, and Portland, Oregon, and currently lives in my favorite city, Greenville, South Carolina. In 2006, Rachel graduated from Portland Community College with an associate's degree in applied sciences. Rachel was a certified personal group fitness instructor and certified jazzercise instructor and taught numerous classes until 2010. She's been a certified personal trainer since 2007, and her focus solely began in 2010 to just the PT because she creates this special bond with her clients, which she believes is important for her to be their teammate as well as their cheerleader while teaching them proper exercise technique. 2021, Rachel published her very first book, The Doughnut Diaries. Well, she has been recovering from restrictive diets and binge eating and really wanted to share her story with the hope that she could reach as many people as possible who have had similar experiences. She wants to be an ally for people all over the world with the hope that we can win this fight on how we see our bodies and to love our bodies unconditionally. Rachel believes that we are all in this together and no one is alone. And in her book, Doughnut Diaries, she shares that the F word is not a dirty word, and I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about food. She also shares how to talk about your body with acceptance and love, and the importance of movement as a form of love to your body. But before we get into what's in the book, Rachel, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let's talk about, before we talk about what is actually inside the book, let's talk about your motivation for writing this book.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Jennifer. It's such a pleasure. And that was the best intro I've ever heard. So thank you.
Yeah.
Almost like I know those are my words from my book, but I was like getting a little teary. I was like, oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry I missed your first question. What did you ask me?
It's okay. Your motivation for writing this book, what motivated you? How did did it all come together?
Well, I just felt fed up. I felt fed up with feeling like I wasn't good enough, no matter what my weight was. And, I had kept the weight off for a very long time. But I was still restricting and I was still feeling shame and sneaking food and doing all those things, torturing myself, which I know so many of us do. And with all that time on my hands during the quarantine, I decided it was time. I think I share this a lot when I'm a guest on podcasts, but this book has kind of been formulating and bubbling up inside of me for over 20 years.
Yeah.
I knew I had a story to tell. I just didn't know that it was more important to share the failures than the successes. And I think so many times we hear these amazing stories of, this, and that. But how did you get there? How did you get to that point where you're celebrating this? So I really wanted to share my real story.
And I think that's just it. We see in this era of social media, right? We see all the good stuff and we're not seeing the nitty gritty and the down and the dirty, right? On how somebody got there. And, with the Doughnut Diaries, it's very relatable and it's very real. And I think that is something that women will really enjoy about it.
I hope so, because like you said in my intro, I really felt alone so much of my life because, it just never dawned on me because all this stuff was going on in my head that it would be going on in other women's heads too. I was more articulate about it. I was always putting myself down and, publicly shaming myself. But just because you're not doing that doesn't mean you don't feel a certain way about your body. And the light went off and I was like, I know I'm not alone. So let's make sure that people know that too.
Right. And, you just brought up another very interesting thing. It's all about how we talk to ourselves, right? And not just, it's the words that we feed ourselves in our own mind that also matter.
Correct. Absolutely. I don't know if you want me to elaborate on that, but
You
I
go
mean,
for it. You
it's
go.
it's such a hard thing to overcome. And I always try to be honest when I'm doing things like this and with myself and with my clients. I think that was the hardest part. And I still slip up. Listen, I
Right.
still do it. I just did
Yeah.
it the other day. But what I love about this journey is that it so quickly comes with a message of loving myself instead of berating myself and just living with that negativity all day or all week or whatever. It comes out or it comes into my head, but then I can say, you know what? Nope, you're beautiful, you're strong, you have the right body today. And I just let it go. I
Right.
just let it go because it's a lifelong thing, right? It's not just I'm going to diet for this reason or I'm going to get skinny for this or that, which we all do, done it myself. But I think when I finally realized that this was something that I was going to do for the rest of my life, and I know that I'm getting a little older too, and I just didn't want to have all that going on in my body as I aged. I just wanted to be happy. And I know that it had to start with me.
Right. Right. And I think that's another important point is that it has to be sustainable. And this whole diet thing, this whole restriction thing, 1,200 calories a day, or eating only salads for lunch and that's it. That's all you get. And, whatever it might be, some crazy restrictive manner, not sustainable, right? And so it's number one, realizing that, wait a minute, this is just crazy, right? But number two, that it's not sustainable. So what do we do about it, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And like you said, it's not only just that mindset change that has to be made, and that really is the first change that has to
Yes.
happen, because unless that piece to the puzzle happens, none of the other cogs on the wheel are going to fall into place.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that even doing your podcast today, we're still in the first month of the new year, and I'm still hearing all this stuff about the holidays and how and it just made me realize, first of all, I never want to come across that I'm judging. I do get frustrated because I'm in this place now and I was
Right.
there. So, but I do
Right.
have to be patient with people because I know how long it took me to get here. But I do preface this by saying I'm still learning too. I don't have all the answers, but
Right.
what I do think, and I would love to invite people to start thinking about, is that we keep doing this to ourselves every single new year. It's like we gorge, or we stress about what was the holidays, then we eat the things and then we feel guilty about it, and then we punish. I mean, it's just
Right.
I know I've been doing this
Right.
to myself my whole life. I'm sure you have heard or done
Right.
the same thing.
Right.
So mindset to me is so valuable and such an important word in this whole thing, because finally body positivity or body love, the way I like to call it, or just consciousness of bigger bodies is not going anywhere.
Right.
It's been touched on through decades, but it's finally here to stay. So why not re-educate or retrain or change mindsets that it is something that is going to take time, that it's going to take changing yourself, changing your mindset, putting in the work, and just kind of letting this all transform inside of us day by day. It's not a quick fix, it's not a pill, it's not another diet, it's just being comfortable with who you are.
Right. Right. And it's also in the words that we choose to use.
Yes.
Right. I mean, I think that also plays an important role in terms of, when we're talking about feeling guilty about this, that, or the other. Are you feeling guilty because of the words that you chose to use for, oh, I'm eating bad foods, right?
Yes.
And so then that leads to the feeling of guilt.
Yes, correct. Absolutely.
So, it's that whole mindset, but also our vocabulary. So not only do we have to change our mindset, but also change the vocabulary.
I couldn't agree with you more, Jen, for
Yeah.
sure.
So when you were writing this book, were there certain things or certain lessons that happened that you thought, there's an aha moment, there's an aha moment? What types of things did you learn, maybe about yourself, about others, about the journey, about where you want to be, about where you were, all of that? What types of things did you learn while you were writing this book? Because I imagine that it was quite a process.
It was quite a process. I think that you have to just start writing. If
Mm-hmm.
anyone ever wants to write a book, especially about their own story, my publisher said something to me early on in the process, and it was so beautiful. And I still use it today and I'm going to share it. It's like, let this be easy. Because you get into your head about things and you're like, but I need to say this, or I don't want to say this, but how are you going to you can just go 100 different ways when you're doing something like this.
Right.
So when he said that to me, I was like, oh, and I took a deep breath. But I think I just started writing, and then I sent it in for editing, and she gave me some notes, and I applied those, and then I cleaned up stories, or I added this story, I took out that story. But what I learned about myself is that I've always been on this journey. It took me a long, long time to get to the happiness part and the peaceful part and the part where I could hear someone else's story and maybe not agree with them, but not attack them and say you're wrong. Or, I took a breath and I realized that we are all in this together. We may be at different parts,
Right.
but there's no reason why we cannot all help each other, especially the women in this industry. And, through the way that I met you and through Debbie's group, it's just like good women who really want to help people. And again, I may not agree with how they're approaching it, but they probably don't agree with how I am approaching it. But we can still rally for each other and have conversations and support each other. And that's what I really learned, is how to be a woman's woman and support another woman in this life.
Right. I love that. That's so good. What would you recommend to women, especially I would say like the midlife woman, right, whose body is changing? What are some lessons that you have for her?
Oh, just patience. Be kind to yourself. Ask for help.
Yeah.
There are so many things that we can do: journaling, meditating, grounding, whatever your approach is, whatever you're comfortable with. I would never push that on someone if that's just not what they're going to stick to.
Yeah, and I think that's it. I think that's a great lesson, because I think a lot of women end up getting frustrated because they'll hear a coach or, a mentor say, well, you need to do this, this, and this. But for them, maybe that's not going to work and be sustainable, right? It might work for a month or two, or, maybe a year, but long term, how sustainable is that for them personally? So I like that you started off by saying finding what works for you.
I'd also like to add there that it's a process to find that too. So don't beat yourself up for trying 10 things and 9 of them don't stick. That one will. You'll find something, but just be okay with the process is what I would probably say.
Yeah. Enjoy the journey, right? Because it is a journey, and it's meant to be a lifelong journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
When I found out how long the actual process from perimenopause to full being done menopause can take, and someone said up to 10 years, I was like, what? So you better get comfortable with the process, because that's a long time.
Yeah.
So
it is. And a lot of changes are going on throughout that. Yeah. What would you say, Rachel, was a game changer for you?
Turning 40 was pretty pivotal. I just was fed up. A lot of times, I'm sure somebody in the program, but there's a saying, expression in AA, you're just sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I was just there. I was tired of restricting. I was tired of binging. I was tired of fluctuating. I was tired of, the people I was choosing. I was just tired of everything. And I knew that there was something better out there because I've had little pockets of happiness. So I know that it's there.
Right.
And I just realized that what was the common denominator in all that chaos in my life? It was me, right? So just kind of step back from all of that and take a beat and evaluate what was important to me. And turning 40 was just, like I said, so pivotal and spiritual and beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And it just charted this path of, I don't ever want to stop learning. I don't want to stop growing. I don't want to stop experiencing life, but I do never want to stop being happy again.
Right.
And I'm not trying to be like, because there are days where it is hard and I still cry, but I don't get wrapped up in that thing that used to just ball me up and stress me out for days and weeks. It's more like 5 minutes or at best a day where I'm, not feeling myself. But I do know that there is a light at the end of every tunnel. And if I can just keep looking for that light, that everything will be okay.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. As you were going through and writing your book, is there anything that we should maybe know that we didn't talk about that's in the book that you want women to know about? I mean, we don't want to give the whole book away because we want them to read the book themselves, because, as whenever you read something, you're going to get something out of it that, you're going to get something different from the book. I'm going to get something different from the book. But what else? Did we miss anything that I should have mentioned?
I just really want to drive my message home. And like you said, however that message is received is differently, but my message is definitely about accepting yourself and loving yourself, but taking those steps to nourish yourself, to move your body, to rest your body when you need it, and to take care of you as a whole, inside and out. I don't want your listeners to think that, because I know there's body positivity out there. Mm-hmm. And then there's, for me, like I said, I choose to say body love, mm-hmm. because body positivity is still misconstrued. And I'm trying to be super clear about my message. I mm-hmm. want you to move. I want you to eat food. I don't want there to be any bad food. I want you to rest when you need it. But that doesn't equate to shove, sit on the couch and not have a life either.
Right. Right.
That's my message I'm really trying to be clear about.
Right. Finding that balance.
Yes.
Yeah. Which, again, as we said, is different for each person, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
it's a learning process.
It is. But it's not just a 30-day learning process, right? It's a lifelong learning process.
I wonder if I should get that tattooed on my arm, like lifelong.
There you go. Great daily reminder, right?
Yeah.
Rachel, if the listeners want to find you, where can they find you?
Thank you. I have a website. It's called Rachel Lavin Fitness, all one word. I'm pretty much Rachel Lavin Fitness on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and you can always tell it's me because I have either a picture of me with my book or like surrounded by books. So yeah, if that's the picture you see, then that's definitely me.
Then that's you. All right, great. And your book is available on Amazon, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes.
And again, it is called The Doughnut Diaries by Rachel Lavin.
Yes. And donut is spelled with the dough. And so, yeah, it's D-O-U-G-H. I don't know why that's important, but
just in case, right? Well, Rachel, we appreciate your time today. And I thank you so much for joining, and all the best to you.
Thank you, Jen. I appreciate your time today too. This was lovely.
Yes. Thanks so much.